No, not this one. Did I reach these slides when I left you all last week? Difference between polyp and medusa. Am I right, class? No? Sorry. Okay, did I reach this slide when I left you all last week?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, then I'm correct. So thank you. We are going to continue from here to finish module 3. And then with a break of 5 minutes or so, we are going to continue on module 4 without delay. Right. So when I left you last week, we were talking about the distinguished characters or different structures between polyp and medusa. There are 6 points there. So if you can remember 5, then that is good enough. Right. So on the topic of nematosis, we have been mentioning about the stinging cell all the way in Cnidarian, because in the phylum of Cnidaria, you'll find that nematosis is present, especially on their tentacles. The nematosis sit in the cells that is called cnidocyte, and it largely or commonly be found in the outer layer of the body, which is epidermis. That's why it's called epidermal layer. And the nematosis is always exists in the form of the bulb and also a thread. So normally the thread is coiled within the bulb. When something happening, or when in case of the Cnidarian is been approached by the predators or something, when they become alarmed, the thread will be shoot outside or discharged, we call it. And the nematosis is expelled from the cell where it is sitting, and the thread will come out of the bulb in the process. So that means from the shape of this in the number 1, it become number 2 here because the thread come out. And the toxin that is available inside the cnidocyte will also be transferred out into the thread. Okay? So again, the picture between the normal nematosis in cnidocyte, there is not discharge, and after they've been discharged. So this is the perhaps somebody that is been having a stung or stung by the jellyfish during the swimming or any activity close to the water, the sea water, whether it is shallow or deep. Normally shallow because near to the beach. One thing about the cnidocyte, when they are discharged, they cannot be recoiled back. That means the animal, the jellyfish or whatever, will replace the cnidocyte again with the new bulb or the new cnidocyte that have never seen. So whatever been discharged out will be just integrated out from the system and replaced with the new one. In terms of feeding, most cnidarian are carnivorous because they catch the small fish, they catch whatever small organism that they can feed on or that always come near to them. So they are carnivorous. The tentacles are the main organ for capturing the prey, and because of the presence of the nematosis, that is thousand of these nematosis that is available on the tentacle. So nematosis, when they are being projected out or injected out from the bulb, it will have toxin in there, and this toxin, in case of small fish, they will paralyze the fish, and for them, sort like being stung by the toxin. Okay. Once the prey is available for food, uh, the prey will be carried into the gastrovascular cavity or the coelentron. And inside the gastrovascular cavity or coelentron, there are gland cells that have been found in the guts. And these glands or kelenjar cell ini akan merembes proteolytic enzyme for the digestion of the tissue of the prey. So whatever undigested waste material will be thrown out or ejected through the mouth again when through the process of contraction. So this is perhaps the about the tentacles that is nematocysts that are found on the tentacles, and then when they shoot up, this is the prey. So you would something that is this the idea after research being carried out. In terms of reproduction, many cnidarian can be either dioecious or hermaphrodite. So they can be male and female in one body or one separate sexual organ on different body. So for the sexual reproduction, it can happen both internal and external. So the egg can be broadcasted out, which is called external, or the eggs can be found inside the body and fertilization will occur inside. External fertilization is meaning that the gamete are out of into the water column. They are being shed outside, and when male and female gamete come together, embryo will be formed. Embryo will turn into planula. So this is also happen if there are internal fertilization. So for the internal reproduction, sometimes process of brooding will take place until a certain time. Then only the larva will be given up. Excuse me, ada orang nak masuk. All right, so asexual reproduction also can be also common, and it can happen through one of these 5 methods. So this is something that I expect you to pay attention to. One is normally seen as budding, and this happened in hydra when I asked you to draw hydra buds during the last practical. Secondly, through a formation of structure called frustule. Frustule is a structure that is similar to planula, but not having any cilia to grow surrounding the body. And this is also produced in class hydrozoa. Number 3 is called pedal laceration or pedal formation or cutting. and this is known to occur in sea anemone. What happens is the base of the animal will be retained during certain unfavorable condition, and when the condition back to normal, this pedal restoration process will start to germinate back or continue to grow as the animal. And number 4 is transverse fission. This is what you see during the life cycle of Aurelia. There is the formation of ephira from Scyphistoma. And number 5, longitudinal fission, transverse and longitudinal. Satu cross section, satu lagi melintang, memanjang, sorry, is known to occur in sea anemone. That means in sea anemone, if you cut the animal into two, they will still able to grow into one whole animal. That is special characteristic of sea anemone. So there are 5 asexual reproduction methods that can be found in class in phylum Cnidaria. This is a budding that you see the small bud grow from the side of the main animal of Hydra. And in jellyfish, they are more in the case of releasing or external fertilization. So, but there are some of the jellyfish that is known to have some kind of internal fertilization method with a brooding pouch, and meaning that it can happen in both. So in jellyfish, planular larva is common, which then turn into polyps, and through some one or two further process will develop into the ephira and medusa. So at the point of development, you'll see that planula will be released from their mother body, and at this stage, the jellyfish look like the oval shape and tiny heads, the planula, float for a few days and then start sinking down and when they found a suitable hard surface. This is later on you will find that planula will grow as a polyps, and at the stage of these polyps, they can be in form of colony, or they can be individual. Or in case of colony, they are all connected to one another through the feeding tube. So this is to ensure that they are receiving enough nutrition in the colony. This stage of jellyfish reproduction can last for years, and polyp can grow up to tremendous size. The jellyfish polyp is going to be like that. And this breeding of this jellyfish is something that aquarium hobbies is trying, because jellyfish is quite sell out a species for the aquarium industry. People like to put them in the aquarium, but to get them from the wild is not easy. So you can do the breeding. The person with expertise on this can do it. Okay. Apologize against the latecomers here. All right. So we know that after polyps, they will go into scyphistoma, and through some kind of transverse division, they will form the ephira. Ephira look like a young, is a young medusa, and after some time, they will become the proper medusa. So ephira will become medusa, then medusa, young medusa, and then become the adult medusa. So ephira give rise to the medusa stage. So that is the life cycle of the jellyfish as you see it here. And another one. And this is for the coral. Coral is a bit different from where we see. They are in the group called broadcasters. Broadcasters mean they release their sperm to the outside, and later on the sperm will meet with the eggs and form the zygote and goes into the planula, into the polyp, and they go asexual budding for the colony of polyp that you see in the coral reef. So the brooders can also be for some species and did involve internal fertilization. But if they are broadcasters, they should be releasing the gamete to the outside. So for the brooders, they release the already established or well-formed planula into the water column. This is an example of life cycle of broadcaster, and you try to look at it to get greater understanding of the coral reef reproduction. And we see in Nigeria that there are some form of symbiotic relationship that involve cnidarian in the marine ecosystem. The one that is famous is the relationship between zooxanthellae and the coral polyps, which is zooxanthellae, as I've been saying, is a group of protozoan or precisely dinoflagellates. Zooxanthellae have the requirement to photosynthesis. They make food through the photosynthesis, and whatever the product will be passed over to the polyps to grow. So what do they have in return? The polyp will provide all the organic nutrient needed by the dinoflagellate. So the survival of coral polyp is known to be greatly affected by withdrawal of dinoflagellate. If dinoflagellate for some instance leave the coral polyps, there's a phenomenon called coral bleaching. The coral will turn white in color because zooxanthellae is already no more with the coral polyp. And after some time of bleaching, the coral will die if the zooxanthellae doesn't come back to them. So this is happened in most of the stony coral that are found, or hematopic coral with zooxanthellae. Deep sea coral is okay because they don't depend on zooxanthellae. The one that depend on zooxanthellae as their symbiosis partner or symbiotic partner, they need the zooxanthellae. Without the zooxanthellae, they will die eventually after the bleaching. Okay. Secondly is another important symbiotic relationship that you see between clownfish and the anemone. Clownfish and anemone seem to be enjoying the symbiotic relationship. Clownfish is amphiphron, ocellaris, the common one, Nemo that you see in the Disney film or Disney film. And the sea anemone, as we know, they have tentacle that is filled up or provided with nematocysts. A lot of nematocyst in sea anemone. If a shrimp or something come by to it, it will be stung by nematocysts and they will be the food. But clownfish able to live in there. According to, if you read more about this symbiosis, clownfish are able to withstand the toxin of the sea anemone. So anemone then give them protection for the fish, so nobody can disturb them because they are inside the sea anemone cluster, and clownfish in return give back the organic nourishment to the anemone. So you can read that more in the Google about this too. So try to remember this symbiotic relationship that is found in Nigeria if the question come out on this. So the sea anemone, as is shown here, protect the clownfish from predator, as well as providing food through the scrap left by the anemone meal and occasional dead anemone tentacle. So in return, clownfish defend the anemone from the predator and parasite. And symbiosis of this kind is also known as mutualism. It's also known as mutualism. Excuse again. A lot of latecomers, huh? Those who are, is it because of puasa? So back to the some problem with bog jellyfish, or known as sea wasps. It's common in Australia originally, and other part of the country, not Malaysia. But recently, last 2-3 years, it's been described or been reported in Penang. And this Chironex flackery is very dangerous because the toxin is can really give serious serious effect to the man that is taking a swim in the water. So if you are taking the swim during the time when Chironex is found in numbers, in Australia they close the beach for some time until Chironex is cleared. And but in here in Malaysia, there's no cases like that. The numbers is not that many, and it's been Chironex have been described as the most lethal jellyfish in the world, and sting or the nematocyst is quite serious because they have millions of nidocytes that is delivering very powerful toxin. Stung by this Chironex will result in serious pain, and if left untreated, may cause the fatality to the person who has this unfortunate event. The amount of venom from this is I quote from the one of the source in the internet. Amount of venom in one animal is said to be enough to kill 60 adult humans. So don't play around with it. If bog jellyfish or sea wasps is reported to be in our waters, try to be not to go and try to have a look at it, because when they are in the water, you might not be able to see them clearly. However, Many can be treated and doesn't cause fatality. And in some cases, if there is no serious contact, the sting bearable by the people and does not require hospitalization. Okay, let's look at some of the species of jellyfish that is found in Malaysian waters. This is a picture of Acromitus. It's found in Matang, Perak. And this project is done by a student from UST Malaya, actually. She was looking into the taxonomy of Malaysian jellyfish. This is her picture, Acromitus. And this is the one that is edible. So you know that jellyfish is edible if being processed and it's found in your seafood soup or something like that. So this red edible jellyfish is quite many during certain season, and there is reported from Kuala Selangor, and species name is Rophilema esculentum. So it can be, the species has been used also to extract gelatin by many researchers. And this is found in Platyhelminthes, is Phylorhiza punctata, and quite is not a dangerous jellyfish as compared to the chironex. And this is Calostylus from Kelantan waters. And that's all for the lectures on the Cnidaria. So among the important things that perhaps I could summarize is the knowledge or the facts about alternation of generation between polyp and medusa. You have to know the characteristic of the two and able to differentiate them. And apart from that, the phylum Cnidaria characteristic is very important. And the classification of it into three major classes, the hydrozoa, scyphozoa, and entozoan. And you know in each class which generation is dominant and which generation is not. And also there are things that you have to understand on the comparisons between the three classes of hydrozoa, scyphozoa, and entozoa in terms of structures formation. And also the type of reproduction, the nematocyst itself, and also on the symbiotic relationship. So those that I mentioned is clearly important one that you must read. Doesn't mean that the others you don't have to read. It need to be run through, except I've been declaring to you the detailed classification is not going to be us. For each class, there are several orders. That is not going to be us in the exam. So those who attended the class, those who attend the class today, they should know which one to pay priority to and which one not. Right, so that's the end of it. Let me show another one. Let's see whether I can do it straight away. Boleh nampak tak on module 4 ni? Plus?
Boleh, Prof.
Nampak,
Okay,
bro.
right. So we are moving straight into module number 4, if I can, because many of you are fasting. So let's cut it off and try to finish the lecture as quickly as possible. Module number 4 is about another invertebrate of the phylum Platyhelminthes. The word Platyhelminthes will come to you as a flat-bodied. So phylum Platyhelminthes is the phylum of the worm-like invertebrate that have flat body. So hence we call it flatworm. So when Platyhelminthes is mentioned, is a flatworm. And other characteristic of Platyhelminthes that should come to you with the words, is it soft body? Yes, many of them or most of them are soft bodied. And parasitic, many are parasitic, and they are also be found in aquatic environment. So platyhelminth is quite important in the field of fish disease because of the characteristic being a parasite. Okay. So if we look into the class Cnidaria, they have radial symmetry, but in flatworm or Platyhelminthes, they are the beginner for bilateral symmetry. That means bilateral symmetry is a kind of symmetry that is found in higher animal, including human being. Kalau kita take the central axis, the central line between our body, you can get the bilateral cut or bilateral symmetry. So the first animal that is known to have this bilateral symmetry is invertebrate called flatworm. Okay, so bilateral meaning that the body can be cut long using only one plane, anterior to posterior, dorsal to ventral to produce two mirror image of. That's the meaning of bilateral. With the bilateral characteristic, this group of invertebrates have the tendency to show some form of development at the interior portion of the body or the head region. And this specialized development at the head region is known as cephalization. Cephalic is head meaning there. So the cephalization meaning the formation of the head that is through specialization that is found at the anterior region. So kalau kita tengok dalam Cnidaria porifera, dia tak ada bahagian kepala. And there is no definite anterior shape that form the cephalic region. But in Platyhelminthes, there is a development of this, and the formation is called cephalization. And the phyla is made up of 4 major classes. The classification is going to be a bit of tricky because there have been new classification of platyhelminth flatworms until now. But I just want to emphasize that you please use the one that I have in my notes. It's not wrong, it's only outdated. But it's clearly dividing the members of the platyhelminth into 4 distinguished groups that maybe now is no more called classes. It's called clade or something like that. But the new classification can be a bit confusing, and hence I ask you to stick on to my classification. Okay, clarification, not my clarification, it's clarification that I adopted from the earlier books on invertebrates. So the 4 classes include Tabellaria, which is consists of free-living flatworm. The class, the other 2 is class Trematoda and also Monogenea. These are the flukes, the flatworm that are known as flukes. And the last class is Cestoda, which is the group for the tapeworm. So the fluke and the tapeworm are entirely parasitic. So only the Tabellaria is not parasitic. Okay, the member of Tabellaria included this animal, Planaria. You've seen this in many books. There's one thing that people trying to show about Planaria, if the experiment, if you cut them into 2, they will still grow back after a few hours or a day or so. So Fasciola hepatica is the well-studied flukes that is found in our body perhaps, and it come to the animals of our that we raise, and finally when we eat the meat, it will come inside our body. And also this group of tabellarians is called polyclad or polycladida, is a flatworm, and this is often mistaken as the mollusk, but it's not mollusk, it's a platyhelminth. So what are the characteristics of class of the phylum Platyhelminthes? These are the characteristic, general phylum characteristic. One, they are parasitic. Okay, they are parasitic. Many of them are parasite. Secondly, they have bilateral symmetry. And the third one is the body wall is triploblastic. That means there are 3-layered body wall, triploblastic. One end of the body is already differentiated to form the head, is the anterior end. The excretory system is been quite well built, and it made up of the phloem cell and duct. Enough for you to note that excretory system is exist or inexistent or existing. Nervous system does include a brain now. They have a nervous system that had the brain controlling everything. The body coelom is lacking. So in the body, there is something like a cavity. So this is called coelom. So for the platyhelminth, coelom is lacking. And the space of this cavity is being filled up with tissue called parenchyma. Generally hermaphrodite because they are parasite, but they can be involved in sexual reproduction. So generally hermaphrodite, but some of them can opt for sexual reproduction. So there are few of them here. As usual, try to remember 5. So we look at the classification of phylum Platyhelminthes. The 4 major classes that I call classes here that you had to follow for the exam is Tabellaria, which is example Dendrocoelom. Trematoda, example-nya ialah genus Fasciola. The class Monogenea, or known as Monogenean, is Gyrodactylus, is a parasite for fish. And class Cestoda, which is a tapeworm called Taenia. So it's like a name of the lady, perhaps. We have Taenia, easy to remember this. So 4 different classes and 1 example each. This the detailed classification by Brusca and Brusca. That's as I said, they are more complex, and I don't want to follow this in terms of the detailed classification. Although they have the Tabellaria, monogenia, trematode, and Sosda, but at different level, it's not in the class. So let's look into class Tabellaria. As we said, they are free-living flatworm found in the sea and freshwater, and few are terrestrial. Most Tabellarian are bottom dwellers. They are found at the bottom of the sea or water body, living within algal mass and also beneath stone and other objects. The common one that we see is planaria. The picture I've shown you before this is the most common freshwater platyhelminthes that can be found on the stream and lake and also spring. The Tabellarian have the gut. Dia ada gut, ada saluran pemakanan. So they're quite advanced. If you see that dalam nidaria dia cuma ada celentron or gastrovascular cavity. But in Tabellaria, cells start to form the tissue, and the tissue start to form the organ already. So they are developing more into the advanced animal, or in this case is invertebrates. So the epidermis is filled up with cilia, especially on the ventral surface. So example of Tabellaria can be planaria, polycelis, and also Dugesia. So just remember one of these. This is the picture of planarian that you have seen before. Easily recognized by the eye spot that you have. And the front body, there's a cephalic region of the head that is being formed. And the brain are found in the anterior region too. Planaria are flatworm that are same as the other flatworm, which include the fluke and also tapeworm. They are in the suborder of Tricladida, no need to remember this, and planaria can reproduce either sexually or asexually, though they can't fertilize their own eggs. So this is the characteristic of planaria. They can produce asexually by splitting in the middle to form a clone of themselves. So even if we cut them into several pieces, they will grow into a new planaria because the stem cell is very, very good in terms of function. So this, we look at planaria with the inside organ. It has all the gastrovascular cavity but been reduced, has the pharynx here, the eye spot, and the brain, and they have all the nerve cord all over the body. This again the picture of it yang ada dalam sila bahasa Malaysia di sini. Against you can see the animal have undergone quite a tremendous development in terms of a multicellular cell. Again, the picture of anatomy of planaria, and if you cut them, let's say one whole animals, you cut into head and the posterior region, the head will again germinates into one, develop into one new organism. If you even cut the posterior end, the head part will be generate after some time. So the regeneration process is very rapid and very efficient. And this is what scientists is looking into it now. If you cut or decapitation, here, this experiment of 14 days, they will come back to the normal, normal animal. And when you cut this, the head will go under this kind of development. The middle part also finally will come into one organism. The posterior part also will eventually, the eye spot and the brain will start growing. So they are very special animals. And in the group of Tabellaria, there are another worm that we see mainly in the coral reef area. This is polyclad worm or Polycladida. They belong to the class Tabellaria. They are marine species and able to move freely and found abundant in tropical coral reef. They are often mistaken with the nudibranch, which is a member of the phylum Mollusca. This is because people look at the color pattern. But if they look at the head part, they wouldn't be mistaken that this is not nudibranch, but is the polyclad. Polyclad can grow to about 30 cm to 1 millimeter, small, delicate, their soft body, elongated and smooth dorsal surface. This is different between polyclad and nudibranch, because nudibranch has the gill on the dorsal surface. They don't have a special respiratory organ or gill, and the process of respiration is through diffusion on the body surface. Polyclad are hermaphrodite. They have both male and female, producing both egg and sperm. For feeding, they have a fairing that been protruded, the julo keluar daripada mouth, and some species of genus Pseudobicerus can expand to the same size as the whole animal. So the fairing is very important structure there. This is used to engulf the prey for the animal. So because of the good, bright coloration as we see in the nudibranch or sea slug, you'll find that many people has mistaken it. So, but this is Polycladida under class Tabellaria, phylum Platyhelminthes. Next class is Trematoda. This class of the parasite is only Tabellaria that is not parasite. They are commonly known as fluke. Flukes, remember the term flukes. They are dorsal ventrally flattened, that means flatworm, and they have suckers. Fluke has enormous importance in medical, veterinary, and also fisheries, and also economy as a whole. Dalam Trematoda, they are divided based on the host. If it is one host, it's called Aspidogastrian or Aspidogastria. If there are more than one host, it's called digenea or digenea. So in case of digenea, they have at least one is mollusk and another one is vertebrate. Mollusk is invertebrate, siput, and vertebrate sini meaning fish. So digenea have the life cycle of 2 or more. And a classic example is Phaseola hepatica, or dalam case a single host Aspidogastria is Aspidogaster species. This is Aspidogaster. They stuck to your fish body on inner part or outside part or inside the gills. And this is Phaseola hepatica. They move inside your body organ through the transmission is through uncooked meat or something like that. For the class Trematoda, we are going to look into order Digenea, which is 2 or 4 hosts in the life cycle. They are endoparasite, mean inside the body. Endo means inside. So Digenea are endoparasite. Epidermis without cilia. Gut is a present. They have oral sucker at the front part of the body. And they have ventral sucker for attachment. So oral sucker normally provide with teeth, sharp teeth, whereas a ventral sucker is for the attachment to the host. So Digenea have 2 to 4 host cycle, which include 1 molars and 1 vertebrate. So example is Fasciola hepatica. In order Aspidogastria, is a small groups. They are parasite for the freshwater of the marine mollusks and fish, cartilaginous fish and bony fish, as well as turtle. And they mature in the mollusk or the vertebrate host is only one host. And species has no economic importance. The life cycle is simpler than the Digenea because Digenea has more hosts and maybe a mollusk and 1 vertebrate or 1 fish. This is Aspidogaster again, the picture. And the third class is Monogenea. Monogenea doesn't require intermediate hosts and does not go asexual multiplication. Okay, this is the important characteristic of monogenea. Tadi trematoda. In monogenea, they do not require intermediate host. They go into definite host straight and does not undergo asexual. They are sexual. Generally, ectoparasite, yang tadi Digenea adalah endoparasite, found on the skin and gill of the fish. Okay, so epidermis also without cilia. Gut present, sama dengan Digenea. Mouth with oral sucker. And also there are ventral sucker or hapter also in Monogenea. Monogenea are hermaphrodite. Okay, they are not sexual. Okay, they are non-asexual. They are sexual but hermaphrodite. They are single host life cycle. The example is Dactylogyrus or Gyrodactylus. Kalau you tengok dia pusing sikit saja dia punya nama itu. The name are quite familiar. The genus name Dactylogyrus and Gyrodactylus. So this is the picture of Gyrodactylus and Dactylogyrus on the right. These trematodes or monogenean are tiny parasite called flukes. They are found on the skin, Gyrodactylus or Dactylogyrus on the gill of the fish, koi. Usually find on both type on the skin or can be also on both. The main difference between the two is Gyrodactylus is live bearer. They produce young one that is similar to their shape. Whereas Dactylogyrus is the egg-laying parasite. So the lifespan is about 2 to 4 weeks in our tropical water. This is Gyrodactylus. Under the microscope, it looks like that. Okay, they have the front part here. The front part is here. The mouth at the back. There is ophisthohapter is for attachment. Okay, and the hermaphrodite ovary and testes are found next to one another. This Gyrodactylus, normally if you are interested in the area of fish health or fish parasite, you can easily recognize them by the presence of the hook that is at the mouth, at the back part, posterior part of the animal. And Dilojecturus is not really much different between the two groups of genera, but they are found on the fish. They are ectoparasite. Okay. And finally, this is class Cestoda. They again, Cestoda are endoparasite, inhabiting all the intestine. Specific site dia adalah usus bagi vertebrates, intestine. The body is made up of number of segments or proglottids. Be careful with the term proglottid. And join the neck to the anterior by a scolex, which is an attachment organ. The chain of proglottid is called strobila. Epidermis with microvilli but not cilia. They don't have guts. Why they don't have gut? Because they are already in the intestine. Whatever food that is available in the intestine, they will absorb it right away. So they don't need the gut. Generally hermaphrodite, with each proglottid containing male and female reproductive organ. Life cycle with or without intermediate host. They can have intermediate or without intermediate host. Example is Taenia. Okay, the body is made up of segment. For example, here in Taenia solium, this segment satu ni dipanggil proglottid. Kalau dia banyak macam ni dipanggil strobila. Okay, and they produce larvae that have name of it. This is the egg, and this is the larvae called cysticercus. So the front part connecting the strobila to the head is called scolex, and there is a neck here. This is the adult Taenia solium that you find in the pig, in Khinzir. And this is Taenia saginata that is found in cow. So there can be a long chain of proglottid for the tapeworm. And this is coming out from the animals, or it may come to you when you eat the uncooked meat. And there are some cestoda that is found in the fish. For example, this is Ligula intestinalis, is the tapeworm of the fish, or fish eating birds and copepod. And this is how it looks when it is been removed from the intestine of the fish. Okay. In Platyhelminthes, the development of larvae is very prominent, especially in the endoparasite of Digenea and Cestoda. For Tabellaria, the most important larva is muller larva. In Digenea, they have 5 important larval stages. This is important. Miracidium, sporosis, rhidia, cercaria, and metacercaria. In monogenean, it's called Onchomiracidium. And in Cestoda, they include larvae called Coracidium, Procercoid, Pleurocercoid, Onchocercia, Cysticercoid, and Cysticercus. This is depending on what type of development the cestode has. But of the 4, I want you to remember this of the Digenean. This is a muller larva that been produced by cluster biliaria. You see this in polycladida or in the planaria of the sexual reproduction. Excuse me. But in terms of metamorphosis, as been described here, many of the tabularian, the hash out is in the juvenile form already. So if free swimming larva is developed, it's called Muller. In Digenean, the first larva to hatch from the egg is called Mericidium. And these have the capability to enter into the mollusk as an intermediate host. When it goes into the mollusk, it forms sporocyst and then goes to another stage called rhidia. Okay, this is the Mericidium, is like planula juga, ada cilia keliling dia. And this is the Cercaria. Tadi kita kata rhidia, sporocyst, kemudian jadi, okay, sorry, Mericidium, sporocyst, rhidia. After rhidia, it becomes Cercaria. And Cercaria is swimming because they have something of structure like a tail. But if Cercaria cannot get into the host, definitive host, they will form metacercaria. That means like a cyst. Okay, they're able to live for a long time. In monogenia, they only have larva called Oncomericidium. This is the life cycle of Fasciola hepatica, and normally we get it through the vertebrate host, which is a cow or the sheep, get into that. Class Cestoda, the metamorphosis process is quite complex. That's why I don't want you to remember this, but it's good for the reference, those who are into the fish disease funny project or something like that, that you want to work on cestode. Newly hatched larva has 6 hooks. It can be called Coracidium or Oncosophia, depending on the type development. Enter the intermediate host and grow in there. Coracidium will develop into procercoid, and in the second intermediate host become pleurocercoid, and the formation of the larvae into the adults is happening. I don't want to go into detail into that. You just read once of this. So this is the, in fish also, can be the intermediate host for the tapeworm. So as what you see in Ligula tadi, it can happen. In terms of reproduction for Platyhelminthes, most Platyhelminthes are hermaphrodite because they are parasitic. Sexual reproduction is through cross of self-fertilization. That means they're able to fertilize the egg themselves. In tapeworm, especially, self-fertilization of the egg is normal. So they do dalam khusus, they just self-fertilize to increase in numbers. Asexual can be in the form of fragmentation or regeneration, as you see in tabellaria or planaria. Transverse fission, as you see in tabellaria as well. Polyembryo, that is found in Digenean larvae. And budding, that you see in tapeworm or cestode. Parasites, when we discuss about parasite, there are things that we have to be aware of the term parasite. Those that are parasitic in nature, they will have to have certain characteristics. And these 7 characteristics is the summary of the characteristics that may be found in parasitic mode of life. One is penetration gland or kelenjar penembus. This is to penetrate the host, penetration gland. Dia kena ada tu in order to be the parasite. Secondly, the body should have attachment organ like a hook or the sucker to attach to the host. Number 3 is proliferation of the gonad. Gonad is able to increase reproductive capacity at any time. Maknanya dia begitu subur. The gonad is very proliferates. They are able to form the gamete at any time. So proliferation of the gonad. Number 4, ability to self-fertilize. Number 5, ability to produce resistant eggs. And the last one is the ability for the parasite to stand the natural immune response of the host. Apabila host diinfect, they will produce some kind of immune system to fight back the parasite. So the parasite, on the other hand, must have the ability to stand this chemical immune response from the host. Okay, there are 6 of them that you should remember. Last few slides here. These are examples of some major parasitic platyhelminthes that are of concern to our life or to us as a human. Fasciola hepatica is the liver fluke found in sheep and cattle. Okay. Clonochis sinensis is the liver fluke found in men. Scytosoma is the blood fluke found in men as well. Diphyllobothrium latum is the tapeworm found in human. Taenia solium is the tapeworm found in man and pigs. Taenia saginata is the tapeworm found in cattle and then men. Taenia fusiformis is the tapeworm found in rodent or rat. So these are the example of the platyhelminth that cause harm to either our livestock or that later come to our body through the consumption of raw meat, uncooked meat, that and then able to live in our body. Of course, there are medical prescription that you can take to kill the worms. Nowadays, they have many of them. But in those days, these are quite a threat to the healthy growth of children. Economic implication, the fluke that parasite will cause disease, and later on will be a rejection of the meat. People don't want to buy meat. They have the fasciola in there. And the heavy infestation of monogenean in fish hatcheries and pond can cause economic loss. It can kill the fish if they are not being treated quickly. So that's the economic implication of it. So this is the last slides for platyhelminth because it's short one. That's why I didn't try to stop for a break or something like that. And is a small phylum, mainly parasite. Only planaria is not the one that is non-parasitic. And as such, it is the one that is quite commonly been seen in our life. Right. So I think yang masuk lewat ni dia orang tak pasti yang next time when you are in, I want your face to be shown. Okay? Ridwan, Kasa Effendi semua ni tak ada muka di sini. So this is requirement of the Faculty of Agriculture through the university. So we are asked to make sure that students are in the right proper place, not somewhere else. So you must follow that. Okay, any question on the second part, which is a part that is included in the test next week, and also the one short phylum on Platyhelminthes or flatworm, because there are 3 types of worm that you will encounter in the invertebrates. After this is segmented worm, it's called annelids, and come the round worm, which is called nematodes. So there are 3 different worms that you should know and able to recognize. So the one that you just have finished is the flatworm. Right? So ada apa-apa soalan? So please read your module 1 to 3 for the exam. And as I've been saying, that exam is going to be held next week during the practical class. So no practical class next week. Is exam and lecture in the morning. All right. Silent mean okay. If you have anything, please get in touch with me, either WhatsApps or the if you don't understand certain part of the lectures, I think like that. Okay.
Okay, Prof.
Right. Okay, kalau tak ada persoalan, then you are alright to leave the groups. But petang ni kita ada short amali on Platyhelminthes. Okay, so by the 2 o'clock, and I'll see you again at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, thank you very much, class, for attending the lecture, and have a good day, those who are fasting, and others, please find a useful free time to go review with your module for the first test. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, Prof.